Welcome to Real Herbalism Radio, show 287, recorded at Big Dog Studios in Eugene, Oregon. Today's show is made possible by Ace High Graphics. We can help you get exactly the right custom designed hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and bags, all made to order. Ace High Graphics can help you unite your team for in-person or virtual gatherings. Get your quote at acehighgraphics.com. TheRealHerbMarket.com. Wouldn't it be nice if there was an online store that sold herbals from verified herbalists making crafted herbal products? Now there is. TheRealHerbMarket.com. Now, here are your hosts.
I'm Candace Hunter.
I'm Patrick Hunter.
And welcome to Real Herbalism Radio. I love talking to Anna Rosa.
You know, it was fun because having her back after a few years, we had her back maybe 4 years ago. And she was one of our
very first
like named herbalists. You know, she, I think our publisher reached out to us at the time, and she had her book on Icelandic herbs.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to us because there's such a thing, Yeah. So that was really cool to meet her there, and then, and off and on be in contact with her through different, ways, and then to reach out to her again and say, hey, we'd love to have you back on the show. And she had these new ventures that she was doing, of course. And, what I always thought was interesting about we were talking about Icelandic herbs and talking about what she was dealing with or doing now. And, we talked about that making that joke of, of her and her family getting in a caravan and, going out and the wilderness and
your vision for how she's wildcrafting and she's going to be doing these long trips.
And she's out there making food and there's a fire at night and it's a thing and there's herbs drying in racks. She's got this whole, she shattered that image big time.
She did. Well, and I mean, the image for us is honestly created because we know people like Howie Brownstein from Columbine School of Botanical Studies who gets in his caravan and he takes his students out and they drive for, anywhere from an hour to 4 to 6 hours to get to the spot they're going to spend their day in to do their, field botany and plant identification work and the things that they do as part of their studies. And then in some cases, I'm guessing he stays, maybe his students drive back, maybe they don't, but I know that he has done many camping out times.
Yeah, I know that I think they've done overnights too, because you're driving 6 hours.
A long ways.
Which, if you put that in a perspective, 6 hours driving for us locally to get to where we want to be is the equivalent of Anna Rosa driving almost halfway around, or a third of the way around her island of Iceland, her country of Iceland.
Right.
So, putting that into perspective, that must mean, she just takes the family truckster out there and just goes off into her area that she's going to wildcraft because she knows where it is. And, maybe it's 30, 40 minutes there. She grabs a few things. She goes back to the house and it's all done. Yeah. So that whole idea of again, my perception was more along the lines where, like, for where we live, might have to drive.
Yeah. I mean, to get to actual wilderness for us, it's easily an hour's worth of driving. The stuff that's closer, there are a few places that are closer that are fairly wildish, but it's not like you're going to not run into other human beings, and you really shouldn't be off trail in those areas because, again, lots of human beings. If we all go off trail, there will be no trail left. We'll just have trampled the woods. Right. So to get to the places that, and we don't even live in a very big city. We live in a average to middling sized city. There are plenty of towns that are smaller. The bulk of American population is in larger cities, as big as ours or considerably bigger. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do have many, many areas of our country that are rural.
And a majority of us don't live close enough to the rural areas to actually be able to say, oh, I'm going to drive for as little as a half an hour and actually wildcraft. Right. I mean, our wildcrafting is, for most of us, in the city.
Well, yeah. And it's funny that we talk about this. I was hearing a TED Talk the other day by this woman who's quite popular now about wildcrafting from her heritage growing up in the South. And, she needed it. It became out of necessity that she did it. Now she's got millions of followers on her TikTok feed about wildcrafting, and, going into an area, a park anyway, even a city park, and just taking a few, dandelions or a few Oregon grape or something that she would have, just a little bit, for herself, and that's how she's wildcrafting because that's what she has access to. She's not like you said, running out and getting all these herbs, you know.
But even that's a little bit scary when you think about like what happened a couple of years ago at the beginning of COVID. There was a whole big thing in LA about all these people had, for whatever reason, been inspired to go out and wildcraft herbs in the city. And even if each one person goes into the park and takes a dandelion, well, there's only a couple hundred dandelions there.
Right.
You know, eventually there's no dandelions left for anybody.
Well, I guess it's, okay, good point. But if you're the person that is trying to keep dandelions from your park, that's not bad.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. And dandelions in the city may not be a great one because
I know what you mean,
often
but like
spray.
Oregon grape or something that was a little more, intentionally planted or whatever. But I mean, there are a lot of public spaces, available. I know like in our area, there are some spots, you could, if you wanted to, but yeah, I just think that whole idea, just always that romantic idea of it. And
I know, I love the idea, the thought that you would like actually have a caravan or a RV of some sort, and you get in it and you can go out to the wilderness and you park it somewhere, and then you actually can like use that as your base camp and then go walk and hike in all these directions. And so far, my reality of actually living in America for these 50 odd years has been that there isn't really a place that you can do that without somehow infringing on somebody else's property or territory and getting in trouble for that. Right. Trespassing in some area you're not supposed to be in, or being in a national park where you're not supposed to be taking stuff without a license.
You got to have a license or a permit to do that. And that's the other thing too, is, know your local laws, because the fines can be relatively steep. I mean, like for instance, locally, if you want to wildcraft a certain mushroom, like I think it's matsutake or one of the other ones, if you have a slot limit, meaning
you can go find two matsutakes and that's it.
Well, the fruit has to slip through a ring.
Yeah,
if it slips through the ring, you can't take it. If it's a pet, yes, you can. Yeah, and they monitor that. I mean, the foresters are. You don't want to be in an area where that's happening, and then you're taking the wrong ones or too many of the small ones. You are going to get fined.
Yeah, yeah.
So know your local ordinances on that. So obviously know what you can and can't do.
Yeah, in this area, even with the common ones like the chanterelles, which until the last couple of fire seasons were in abundance, ridiculous abundance around us.
Right.
Even those, there's a pound limit. You can only have however many pounds. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't a very large.
Yeah, it's like a couple pounds a day or something like that. Yeah. And it, or a basket size or whatever, would fit in a thing. It's
for a family, it's a very reasonable amount.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, but in the commercial harvesters, they have to have permits. They have to pay for those. Yeah. So I understand, all that. And the other thing too is like I was at a park once. I was at a swimming hole this summer, and a friend of mine was taking these rocks, and I said, "What are you doing?" Well, these are really pretty rocks. They're green. I said, "You can't take those."
Yeah, you're not allowed to take rocks.
Well, they're like, they're just rocks. I said, "Yeah, but if you take them, and tomorrow another person comes and takes them, and then tomorrow, and it keeps going, and everyone just takes a rock. Before you know it, there's no rocks here."
It's just like the 200 dandelions that would be gone.
Yeah, you're chipping away at the resource for yourself and not for everybody else. This is a park. This is a natural area. Keep the rocks here.
Yeah.
If you want to go harvest rocks, then go pay for it. Then you can get a rock permit at the forestry department to
we have a lot of rock hounds in Oregon, and they do exactly that.
Well, they have to. Yeah. Or they should anyway. So, but the thing with Iceland though, bringing it back around there, is like, what I thought was interesting, what she was saying is that the herbs that grow there, they're like Leslie was talking about the monster yarrow, the massive, the big yarrow on the Oregon coast, which we've encountered. Has been almost as tall as us, right? Yeah. Well, on the flip side, in Iceland, the yarrow really might be half as much, but twice as strong.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's growing in a very, very area. It's growing in a difficult area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the plants that she is wildcrafting are hella strong. So they're not monsters. But they're really, really strong.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's an interesting idea, concept with most of her herbs that she's using from Iceland, and using that in a way like on her acne cream she was talking about. They're just double potency. They're just stronger because the environment they're living in isn't, great. And we've even, and again, we'll bring this is repeating some of the stuff we've talked about before, but like, even in our house, our volunteer herbs that just kind of grow in the middle of nowhere where they're not supposed to. And it's like gravel and there's no water and they are able to do it. And then you take a leaf, like I remember oregano being the one I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah.
You take a leaf of that oregano, like, whoa, damn, that's powerful. And then I have the other one in my culinary box, and I take that and like, it's good. But that one's really good, so that's why in our house, or if we have a volunteer herb, we just let it go. We let it grow, and because that's going to be really good medicine or good food.
Yeah.
Not a weed. Remember, even a rose can be a weed if it's in the wrong garden.
That is true, and we do have actually some rose weeds.
Yes, we have some rose weeds.
There's one particular dogwood rose that just I can't keep that thing contained.
Yes, it is. It is
really
prolific,
likes
as is our blackberry weed infestation. And I don't care if you like blackberry pie or blackberry whatever, or blackberry soda, blackberry black. I don't care. If you live in Oregon, it's an infestation. It's a weed. I mean, I never knew what a bramble patch really was. Until I moved to Oregon.
And then you moved to Oregon. Yeah.
Now I know what bramble patches are.
Yeah. Right.
I think, she's such a vibrant lady and she does such really cool things. And it's so interesting to find out that, Reykjavik is 150,000 people. It's no really larger than Eugene, Springfield, where we live.
Yeah.
You always think of Reykjavik as being this
huge
metropolis.
No.
No. So, but
I'm really thankful that we have access to like Anna Rosa's skincare products and other herbalists who do their products online and are in areas or have the ability to go find, grow, create, so that I don't have to do as much. I mean, it's not that I don't love being in the wilderness. I certainly do, but it's a lot of work. It is really a lot of work to go out, and you have to really love what you're doing to do that consistently, to go out and find the plants and then bring them home. And then, when she talked about going out and doing it, she has to process everything the same day. And I've done that. It's a lot of work. You go out and you have a great time. And by the time you get back in the car to drive home, you're pretty tired.
Oh yeah.
And then you drive home. In her case, perhaps only like a half an hour or an hour. In our case, more like, 2 or 3 hours. But you drive home and then you begin to dry, chop, macerate,
whatever you're going to do,
measure, and
you process it.
And that's several more hours of work.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too. And that brings it back to an idea of I can't remember there's a term for it. But you get out into the woods or wherever you're going, and you just you feel there's something that comes over you, and I harvest it all. And
it's sort of like this herb greed.
Yeah, and there was a term that either Howie used it or Sue used
Plant lust, I think.
What's that?
Plant lust.
Plant lust, maybe is it? And you get out there and you're like, But remember, everything that you grab, you got to use. You just have to, for appreciation and taking from the Mother Earth and the forest and all that. If you're going to take it, you're going to use it.
Right.
So that's the case. And you grab 30, 40, 50 pounds of whatever herb.
Yeah.
It may not seem like a lot in the woods, but when you get it home in your kitchen and you dump that on the table,
and you're sitting there going through all of it.
Of stuff. You've got to clean, you chop, macerate, set it up, get them into tinctures, get them into stuff, because with the herb, it's going to lose potency the longer it sits.
Right.
All those essential oils and stuff are going to start, getting out of them.
Yes. And even if all you're doing is planning to dry it, you need to garble it, hang it up properly, and dry it appropriately. Otherwise, it's going to rot.
Yeah.
And then what have you done?
Yeah. And then what have you done? You've wasted a resource, and somebody else can't come in and get that resource either. And
more importantly, you've lost the right to complain when you see other people doing damaging things to the earth. Fair. Because if you're not willing to make sure that you don't do damaging things to the earth, and if you're not going to be, if you're not going to be careful and caring as you work and are in the world, then how can you expect anybody else to do that?
You ever wanted to learn about plant medicine, Googled the plant, and only found stuff written by medical database sites or celeb docs who don't seem to use the herbs themselves? The Practical Herbalist has loads of articles on herbs and plant-based medicines, all written by experts who actually study and work with the plants every day. At the Practical Herbalist, you'll find info on traditional and modern uses of herbs that's supported by science yet still practical for real people. Visit thepracticalherbalist.com.
So if you want to be able to complain about, the government, for instance,
Yes, right.
Or big pharma, or you want to complain about, other large industries that do damaging things like the forestry or the timber or mining or ocean fishing or any of these things, then you have to be really thinking carefully about what you do take from the earth and how you handle it.
And, I'll just put this back in what you leave.
And what you leave,
if you walk into an area and it looks great, leave it like that.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you walk into an area and it's okay, but there's a few things that are, someone left some trash, you know what?
Clean it up. Leave
it better than when you found it.
Yeah.
Because that's how we're going to continue to have these areas that we can keep going to and keep doing. And, you could be all like anti-government stuff, but the fact that it matters if they're asking for permits so that this resource can be used for everybody.
Yeah, that's part of the reason for the permitting.
Yeah.
If you want to go out and get a permit for the matsutakis, it's partly to help fund foresters and other people in the government that take care of the land and make sure that it is treated well.
Oh, exactly. This isn't necessarily about herbs, but this is about fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this year in Oregon, the first year in 5 years, if you catch a coho salmon in the river, you can keep it. The last 5 years, if the coho salmon got in the river and you caught a coho salmon in the river, you had to let it go. You couldn't even bring it. If you got to the boat, you had to disconnect it as fast as possible.
Right.
Right. Well, and they did that because 5 years ago there was a die-off.
Yeah.
Because of the water, we had a depleted oxygen area out in the ocean.
Yeah.
So again, our this is where our government helps.
Yeah.
They said we need
the regulation isn't about making human beings suffer. It's about helping the other beings.
Right. So the salmon rebounded, and this is the first year now for the next month. If you're a fisherman, you could do that.
Yeah.
Now, if we didn't do that and people just kept fishing and fishing and fishing and fishing and doing what they were doing, the population may never have rebounded.
Right.
Right.
Right. And we as human beings oftentimes don't realize the bigger picture, partly because we're not all sitting around studying that.
Well, how can I affect it? I'm just one little person taking one little bit of thing, and it's just me, a little thing.
Not even that. It's a lack of awareness. I mean, how many people actually really were paying that much attention to understand why there were fewer coho salmon in the river that year? A lot of people didn't understand because they're busy being experts in their own fields.
Right.
If your job is to take care of people in a hospital and you're not even a doctor or nurse, you're actually an administrator, or you handle the billing or the insurance stuff.
Right.
Your expertise isn't about spending your time, or your day isn't about spending your time researching why the coho are not as prolific as they had been in past years.
Right. Absolutely.
So we pay our permits to have the government figure that out and hire people that do that. And those people, likewise, probably are not experts in the medical insurance industry and don't know how to best help themselves, their family members, or their friends get the medical care they need. That's your job, because you're the medical insurance expert. This is why we do these things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we have another Herbal 101 today.
All right. Okay, so our question today is from Sandy. And Sandy asks, I'm looking for a product that may help severe neuropathy. Type 1 diabetic for 60 years. Can you help?
I cannot give you medical advice, of course.
Yes.
Definitely diabetes, type 1 and type 2, both of those, often neuropathy is associated with that. And it will, as the years go by, definitely you start to get more and more potential for that.
So I don't know what that neuropathy is. Could you tell me?
That's when you have, in some cases, it's overstimulation or understimulation of the nervous system in an area. So for instance, you have tingling in your feet all the time, or numbness in your feet all the time.
Okay.
The circulation might be okay still. With diabetes, oftentimes circulation in your extremities decreases or diminishes with age. So that may be a factor. You might have a nerve that's being pinched in some way. But a lot of times it's just, I'm not sure what,
right,
causing the nervous system in those areas to be disrupted. and staying disrupted. It can happen for a lot of other reasons. It isn't just a diabetes related thing. People have it for, sometimes there's injuries, other conditions can cause it, that sort of thing. It's not uncommon. And especially as we age, it's the type of thing that's more likely to show up.
Okay.
So we were talking about wildcrafting, and here in Oregon and throughout the West Coast for sure, there's one plant that's often used topically for neuropathy and for helping to reheal or repair nervous system or nerves, especially those in the skin and musculature. And that would be St. John's wort.
Oh.
And in fact, in our area, it is considered an invasive damaging weed. So going out and picking the St. John's wort's a really good thing. It's helpful to everybody. So that's a good thing. St. John's wort is something that is located or grows wild in many, many areas throughout North America, I believe Europe and Canada, and I think Asia as well. It's a prolific weed, let's put it that way. But St. John's wort would be one, and you would make an oil with that. So you could go wildcrafted, or you could find a source,
like a salve
or something
like
that includes that. And that one's a very common one in a lot of salves that are related to muscle discomfort or things like your sore muscle balms and arthritic balms. A lot of times St. John's wort will end up being included in those. So check out your favorite herbalists. They might have something for you that has that. Another one that you might want to think about is cayenne. So cayenne and hot pepper in general, any of the hot pepper family, will help increase, when you use them topically, it helps increase circulation to the area. So that often will help to soothe the nerves as well, because whatever it is that's the chemical stuff of the nervous system that's causing and building up as a result of the agitation there, it will be more easily carried away when the circulation is better. For diabetes specifically, a lot of times part of the problem is circulation in the capillary system in those extremities. So a lot of the reason why people who are diabetic are more likely to have cold hands and cold feet and struggle with circulation in those areas, or struggle with discomfort in those areas, is circulatory related. So cayenne's a really good one for that. And that's, you can make an oil or you can use like a tincture style using any alcohol or rubbing alcohol. Just make sure if you use rubbing alcohol, you only use it topically.
Right.
And you can spray that on or rub that on.
Okay.
I've made salves that come.
You did a chili pepper salve.
Yeah, I do a chili pepper salve, and I put it in what looks like a mini deodorant stick style. So it's a little heavier on beeswax.
Right.
But that way I don't have to touch it with my hands and get it all over my hands, and then potentially, God forbid, get it in my eyes or my nose, which even still I personally manage to do because, you got to put your fingers in everything, right? And the other one that I was thinking about is going to be it's a mushroom, and you'll probably need to look for it. It's called Amanita muscaria. And it is, that mushroom. It's
the red one with the spots on it.
Exactly. It's the one we see in the Disney movies. Those
it's
little
the
white
quintessential mushroom.
Yeah.
Every time you see a mushroom, they talk about, that's the one
the
they show.
The emoji on your phone that has the little white stalk and the red top with the white dots.
Yep.
That's Amanita muscaria.
Right.
And there is actually a yellow version of that one that's called panther mushroom. So it's fly agaricus or fly amanita and panther amanita or panther agaricus. But usually it's called amanita. So
you can use either one.
Yeah, they both work topical only. This is not an
not
edible.
Eating this.
Yeah, do not eat this mushroom.
You are going to get sick.
It will both of them will make you quite ill if you eat them. Don't do that.
No.
But do consider using them topically. I have done them in oils. They also could be done in a tincture style. Mushrooms are a little bit more challenging to extract.
Well, before you say that, you say tincture style,
but not as a liniment, as a topical only. Topical only.
Don't ingest amanita.
Right,
all.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is you can use alcohol so that you don't have to have that oily.
Oh, okay.
Stuff on your skin.
So it puts it on, but then it evaporates off and leaves the.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, just when you said tincture, I wanted to make sure people. No.
Yeah, don't. So. If I was designing a simple formula, I would say put in equal parts of all three of those. You might want to go, it doesn't matter if you go heavier or lighter with the cayenne, but, put in all three of those.
So would the cayenne be a powder you're going to use, or are you going to use the actual pepper?
I would probably use dried cayenne peppers, and I might just go to my local grocery store and buy a package of dried peppers from the
dried cayenne.
Yeah, dried cayennes or any of the other hot peppers.
Oh, so you could do like an arbo chili.
Yes, yeah.
Because you can, because a lot, like in our area, there's a lot of every grocery store has a Mexican aisle, and down the Mexican aisle you can find all these chilies.
Yes, I was going to say that the Mexican and Asian cuisines usually have them, and Indian cuisine usually has
So
has
if you have
chilies.
a specialty store like that, or
that aisle in your grocery store,
you might be able to find what you're looking for. I think the powder would be hard.
The powder will be a lot harder to deal with because you're going to make it with all three of these in there, and then you're going to strain it out. Or you're going to make 3 individual oils, all strained, or alcohol-based products, all strained, and then mix them together.
Okay.
And then I would turn them into a salve because it's less messy.
Sure.
But you do what works for you. The other thing is to take a look at, good herbalists. Consider looking for herbal products like the ones on the Real Herb Market. Look for the sore and muscle ache rubs that have a focus on St. John's wort, that have hopefully cayenne, maybe amanita in them. Look for stuff that's for sore muscles that includes nervous system stuff. Ask the herbalist. Tell them, I've got neuropathy. Do you use St. John's wort? Do you use any other herbs here that will help with the nervous system aspect?
Perfect. Well, that was a really good answer to that question. And, thank you for explaining what neuropathy was, because I didn't really know. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah.
Good luck, Sandy.
All right. So I guess with that,
put an herb on it.
The statements made about herbs and products on this podcast have not been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA. They're not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided on this podcast or any affiliated websites is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. You should not use the information on this podcast and its affiliated websites for a diagnosis or treatment of any health problem. Always consult with a healthcare professional before starting any new vitamins, supplements, diet, or exercise program before taking any medication, or if you have or suspect you might have a health problem. Any testimonials, questions, or case studies are based on individual results and do not constitute a guarantee that you will achieve the same results.